Ukraine. Do you have any comment or concern about the situation in the east right now in the wake of this helicopter being downed and these photographs that appear to show civilians, including children, lying dead in the streets? The other day you said that you didn't have any particular concerns about the Ukrainian authorities' use of force, but you did have concerns about the separatists, and you were urging the Russians to rein them in. Do you have concerns about the Ukrainian authority, about the use of force by the Ukrainian authorities, or is it still are you still in the same spot?
Nothing has changed. Our broad view, as you know, is that de-escalation is the proper path forward, but many challenges remain on the ground. There's no question about that. As you noted, today heavily armed separatists in Slovyansk shot down a military transport helicopter, killing 14 people. 4 OSCE observers that were abducted on May 26th continue to be held. Separatists, reportedly including many from Russia, attempted to seize the airport in Donetsk on Monday. So there are obviously a range of recent events in isolated areas that we remain concerned about, and challenges remain.
But you still believe that the Ukrainian authorities are acting they're acting appropriately and within their right to maintain order in these clashes that are going on in the East?
We still believe Ukrainian authorities have the right to uphold law and order in their own country.
And you don't believe that they're using disproportionate force or attacking civilians?
That is not a concern I'm aware of.
Ukraine? Yes, still on Ukraine. I think the Ukrainian authorities have announced that the inauguration for Poroshenko is going to be on June 7th. Mm-hmm. Do you have any indication as to whom might represent the United States at that?
Not at this point. We do plan to be represented, but I don't have any announcements to make.
You wouldn't, would you? Wouldn't the White House make that announcement?
You're so tied up with protocol, Matt. That is true.
Exactly. Speaking of protocol, though, on Ukraine, a couple Russian publications, but also the Washington Post, have published cables that were released, that came out from WikiLeaks about U.S. diplomats' rather unfavorable view of the president-elect back when he was, before he was the foreign minister. Do you know if the concerns expressed by people like Ambassador Herbst about Mr. Poroshenko still exist?
I have not heard those concerns expressed, nor have I discussed those cables with people currently in the administration.
On Ukraine.
Yes.
Do you believe whatever the Ukrainian government strategy is working? I was there. I just came back. I saw how Crimea was. I was there for 2 months. I saw how Crimea was taken away, and the world was watching. And I saw how the East, people in the East, wanted to vote. A lot of people in eastern Ukraine wanted to vote, and they couldn't. I was in Slavyansk, and I saw how the army was suffering, trying to get back that city, but apparently they had no good strategy because they were bombing checkpoints and going with instead of seizing them, so the separatists would come back. There was a lot of chaos there on the ground among people, and it's been going on for a long time, and it seems like the more it goes on, the worse it gets, and the more likely it is like a civil war instead of just, whatever you think.
You can't have a civil war when it's Ukrainians supporting Ukraine and you have Russian separatists from the outside coming in and wreaking havoc in some parts of eastern Ukraine.
They're using the insiders, the separatists that are Ukrainian separatists. They don't.
I think there's some argument about that
as a human
question.
shields.
Our view here is that there was a successful election with a high turnout. There were certainly some challenges.
Not in the East.
There were some challenges. There was even in some areas where Russian separatists were attempting to prevent people from voting, they still voted. But across the country, 60%, that was our 60% turnout, which is a high level of turnout. Where we are now is we're focused on moving forward. And President-elect Poroshenko has announced that his #1 priority will be to restore order in eastern Ukraine by increasing dialogues with citizens of the region. He's going to be traveling to the area soon after the inauguration, and we're hopeful that that will lead to a positive path forward.
This is a Middle East piece.
Hold on, Just your view is that everyone, that all Ukrainians in the entire, in all of Ukraine, excluding Crimea, are for the president-elect, and that anyone who is opposed and is conducting
that is not
creating
at all what I
mayhem
was
is-
suggesting.
But you seem to be suggesting that all the separatists are actually Russian and not Ukrainians. That's what I thought I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think the Russian separatists, Russian-supported separatists, however you want to refer to it, are. I wasn't suggesting that. I don't think we know the origin of a lot of these individuals. We've seen people cross borders. There's a lot of questions that have been raised.
So, okay, so is it correct then that you are concerned that people from outside Ukraine, people who are not Ukrainian citizens, are going into Ukraine and fighting on the separatist side? Is that
Well,
correct?
should look at the reports of Chechens coming across the border.
That's what I just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
I was
that
there
sure,
myself.
absolutely.
Yes.
But do we have any more on Ukraine just before Ukraine? Ukraine.
Japan.